Hey everybody, welcome to Vacuum Wars. This is a new series where I'm basically going over products that I've reviewed before and tested before, like this BISSELL Little Green Spot Cleaner, which I've put through all kinds of tests against its competitors and different things. And this is just me going over everything I know about it and discussing its value proposition. Do I think it's worth it and why? So the Little Green is BISSELL's budget spot cleaner. They do have a more expensive one. This is in their budget lineup, which is one of the reasons I like the BISSELL Little Green. I think it does a good job of being in this budget category without having a lot of the quality control issues that are on some of its competitors. For example, we have the Hoover Spotless here, which in a recent competition I found had more quality control issues, such as the one that I got initially, the sprayer didn't work. Later on I had a leak in this one. And these are issues that I've read in comments before as well. That's not to say that the Little Green won't occasionally have its own quality control issues like that, but they are minimal compared to the Spotless, at least from what I've seen. So how does this work, and why would somebody need one of these over, say, a regular carpet cleaner? So how it works. Basically, you fill this clean water tank with warmed hot water. You use the included carpet solution, and you basically pop it back in there like that. You turn it on, and plug it up and turn it on, and you use this scrubber, which has a little trigger here, you can see. You hit that trigger, and it sprays the water onto the stain, and then you use the brushes here to scrub up the stain, and while you're doing that, the suction is sucking up the water and the dirty water into the dirty tank here, or over here. Afterwards, you empty this dirty water tank. So why would you want a spot cleaner over another cleaner? A couple different reasons. I would say the first is portability. You can see that this is just easy to sort of grab and go. Filling this up and getting it ready to go is a quicker process than a larger kind of vacuum style carpet cleaner. So that's one thing. I think its portability is also good for car upholstery and other kinds of things where you need to get in tighter spaces. You probably need an extension cord or something for that, but it's good for people who are looking to use this for those kinds of things, auto upholstery or whatever. The main reason, though, that I think spot cleaners have an advantage over some of the vacuum style carpet cleaners is what I think of as, like, when it needs to be clean, you got to use a spot cleaner. And what I mean is that if you have a spot on your carpet that just has to be cleaned up, you can get a vacuum style carpet cleaner, and it's going to do the same thing every time in terms of the how hard it's trying to clean that stain. Its brush is only going to spin a certain amount. That brush is only going to be a certain amount close to the carpet. It's only going to use a certain amount of water. You can go over that stain a lot of different times, multiple times, but it's never going to really get in there and scrub like a person who just absolutely had to have it scrubbed. And so yes, it's more work because you're in there, really scrubbing with these spot cleaners. But that's also the advantage of it, is because you can really get in there and scrub a stain with these, is why I think these are basically, like I said, it's for when you have to have the stain cleaned. I look to a spot cleaner as opposed to just a larger carpet cleaner. As far as this particular unit, some pros and cons. The hose is not as quality as BISSELL's like Spot Clean Pro. A lot of times you'll see people talk about the attachments with these. You may be like, well, do I need that new attachment or that other attachment? In my experience, this 3-inch attachment is the one that I would use every single time. I mean, it doesn't need to be any different than this. There's some wider ones, and there's some, ones that have all the kind of own spinning brushes, which I just think are completely worthless because that takes away the whole thing. I mean, what you like about these is that you're the one scrubbing. When they're spinning themselves, it's basically not scrubbing nearly as hard as you would. So all that to say is that you don't need any more attachments than this, in my opinion. Even the larger, wider ones kind of, to me, get in the way of this like perfect 3-inch ergonomic kind of place that this one is. So I don't feel like you're missing anything in terms of attachments. I like the way that this one works in terms of how it fits into its holster and things like that. So it's good with regard to that. The cord is 15 feet, which there are some with more, some with less length there. 15 feet is pretty much in the middle. One of the things that this is great for is wet stains. So if you catch it when the stain is fresh, I like to be able to really hold this down there and make sure you're sucking up all the liquid from the bottom of the carpet and things like that. I think this one comes with a cleaner that you put on the end of your hose here, and it sort of cleans out the hose a little bit, which is a great maintenance tip. And that's kind of another point about these. If you use this extensively, I think that eventually it's going to, and you don't clean it regularly, it's going to get to a point where this can be a little bit problematic. So it's important to clean it, but it's also like that's another reason to buy a budget one, because if it breaks, you could almost buy another one. And if you're using it to that extent anyway, I think a budget one is a great idea. One negative thing I noticed and I mentioned in the reviews is that you got to be careful with this tank. The way that it empties, it doesn't really have like a top that you open. It's like always ready to, it's always open. It's kind of a good design in some ways. One of the things that I don't like about these is that it's hard to get all the dirty water all the way out, and this solves that. But the bad part is if you don't remember that and you take this out, you could easily spill it back on the carpet. So it's important to remember that the top's already open when you take it out, and you need to keep it upright and then pour it out. So it's a little thing, but that's one thing to keep in mind. Really isn't a whole lot more to this as far as those things. So the Bissell Little Green, I do highly recommend it. There are better quality ones from Bissell. I think one of my favorites is the Bissell Spot Clean Pro. You can see the review that I did on that. But basically, I think this is a really good option. If your goal is to have the most bang for the buck, the Bissell Little Green is a great choice.